Welcome back, friends, to EU League. It's time to kick off our matches, and what a one to go through. Rogue versus Pwns is our first one on the chopping block, and we're going to chat about these two teams, kind of set you up for a match before it gets underway. Welcome back to the Analyst Desk. I'm Systematic. With me are Fresh and Fabian. Let's have a chat about Pwns and Rogue, starting off with Pwns. The massive changes that this team has had, have they paid off yet? Still with 1 week, Fabian.
I wouldn't say that they have. We saw a pretty weak Pwns last week, losing 7-1 to Heroic on border. It looked quite messy. It didn't look like they had updated their strats. It's funny, Jack, we spoke about Exodus being up and down. And what was he in the game against Heroic?
Did he have 4 kills? Please tell me
he had 4 kills, I'm pretty sure, or 3.
We said he was 14 or 4. So,
yeah, and he had about 14 the first game day, and then the second game they had about 4. So it didn't look that well, and I think it wasn't that one player's fault here, obviously. They played poorly. They seemed lacking connect between each other and the positioning that you need to have. A lot of the time when I look at the positioning of players, I want them to be in a specific pattern, kind of like they have one guy that's connecting the roam game together with the guys on side. And what I saw was there was 3 guys on site or close to site, and then maybe 1 guy off on his own. And that's not really the siege you can play if you want to contest players, especially on a map that is as attacker favorite as border is.
I think I didn't know if we was going to go into Rogue. I'm being a bit rusty today for some reason. I think that's what you're saying is the proximity between players is there was a clear, distinct difference. Is that you've got a pocket over here, you've got a pocket over there. This guy dies, these players aren't doing anything about it, and that was their biggest problem. Yeah,
and they didn't just connect anything, really. Like we were talking about when they were defending top floor, and we went through the match a little bit earlier. They had a guy in Office, a guy in Fountain, a guy in Archives, and a guy in Armory, but only 1 guy playing CC, nobody playing 90, nobody playing main stairs, nobody going underneath, just nowhere.
Maybe they've just had a few days and they've changed up everything on border. Who knows? Maybe they just won't play it at all. That's not a question for me to answer. We'll talk about that in a moment. Rogue, what do they bring on the other side? Success, at least so far.
Yeah, well, Rogue, they've actually impressed me a lot in terms of the strategic way they've played the game. They had a very nervous first game against G2, but I believe they strategically beat G2 that day. Move on to game 2. They've got another good opponent in BDS. They go on to Skyscraper. They strategically beat them again, but they actually beat them on the server. Kanto's not nervous. Deepek isn't nervous. It's more of a complete, well-rounded performance. And Rogue are actually looking like a side where I think both of us think that they've got a real good shot at hitting the top 4 and actually, breaking into that upper echelon of EU.
I think if you look at the top 4 teams overall, I think Rogue has already played 2 of the teams that we would place in that position.
As given. Yeah.
So now we kind of see a Rogue that might have an easier time beating better teams and more teams, just because, well, they've already played what team people consider probably the top 2 even at just before in the season.
All right, so our map bans, what do they look like? Bring them up on the screen again from 7 to 9 map pool that we're using now. 8 are done, 1 is left. We're going to go to Cafe Dostoevsky as Pwns had the last say on it. Removing Bank and taking us, again, to Cafe. Starting off on the attack as Rogue has the pick. That was defense, Pwns on the attack. Jack, you got any numbers for me?
I've not got any numbers. What I will say subjectively is Rogue do like this map. And I think that, especially starting on the defense, they can really be quite oppressive to Pwns and really, as you say, they can punish that disconnect because they will have seen it. They've got a lot of support staff behind the scenes at Rogue. They will have seen what the win condition is against Pwns, abusing that disconnect. I'm thinking, on Cafe, you've got to start from top red. Most attacks start from top red. I'm thinking like cigar shop holds with Castle and really being as oppressive as you can on the entryway to the building. And I think that will be a key win condition for Rogue.
Jack, I think that if Rogue had an analyst that they paid €100 a month or an analyst they paid 10,000 euros a month, I don't think that they would come out with any sort of different analytics of Pwns. It's just punish them early, use the disconnect, and use that they're a new team just to pick them apart. Because what we saw on border was horrible. And I think that Cafe being a defender-favored map, it's going to lead even more into Rogue. And then the only thing that I see here as what can be the relief for Pwns is that they have really, really strong defenses where they do some crazy stuff, because I think that then they go over to defense, they're going to be either 1-5 or 0-6, looking at how they've been playing so far.
I think one thing that I'm actually very concerned about for Pwns is if you look at the starting sides on the maps that they're going to. So last Playday, they went border but started defense first. Today, they're going Cafe but starting attack first. So they're starting on the disadvantaged side to me. So if you break that down a little bit, you think about why a team's going to do that. It's because I believe they don't have the sufficient map pool to kind of withstand you know, the fact that they're happy to go, actually we play Cafe, but we'll have to start attack. Actually we play Border, but we'll have to start defence, rather than go to another map that they're not as confident on. And I think that's the big thing that you see when a team's got a shallow map pool. They do get the map, but they often start on the side they don't want to start
Yeah, basically losing the game already in the map pick. That's something we had back in G2 quite a lot when I was still playing, that we won ban phase so hard that it didn't matter really what side we were on or anything like that, because we got into the map we wanted, we knew exactly what we needed to do to win it, and then we just went onto the server and did it. I think that Pwns is suffering from the opposite of that. They can get to the right map, but unfortunately they're not strong enough on either side to really compensate for it.
All I'm hearing about is negatives about Pwns and how they've been doing, because, I mean, the results speaks for themselves. What is a strength that they can harness today against Rogue?
They have individual talent on some players that can really shine. And it's, again, Exodus showing up today. Will he drop 14 or will he drop 4?
If he's on the map where he feels like he's coming
Yeah.
and he drops 14, he's a real shining light for them. But as we say, it is that inconsistency that, you know, we can't stand here and say Exodus is going to be really good and he's going to drop 14 kills. Because unfortunately, what we do see out of him is this inconsistency, and we've got to set that stage.
And since we have a delay because players can't actually show up on time for the game properly.
Haven't woken up yet.
That's why I said good morning.
Good morning.
Saying good morning to all the UL players that are getting ready for the game in 2 hours. So what is there to look at in terms of operator bans for this? Because we know Valk, you can banner everywhere. Anything that Pwns can kind of use to their advantage to help them out?
I think that they need to leave both Mira and Valkyrie open for themselves. The problem is that obviously they're starting against them first. So they have that issue. But I think that if you have that issue and you know before you head into the game that, hey, we need to leave these kind of crutch operators open for us to make us get closer to each other, then you can always know how to counter them because you know already that you need to. Other than that, there isn't, I'll be honest, I don't think it's that much that they can do. I really want them to do well. But what I saw in the last Playday, I'm not so confident.
Yeah, and I think it's even the same when you go back a Playday to the Secret map, is that they did beat Secret. Yeah, but you look at Secret's performances, and we'll level that back out. They got to win against Secret. But realistically, I think a lot of teams, if it wasn't Secret, would have beaten Pwns that day. And we're looking at a team that, you know, realistically maybe could, maybe should be 0-2 coming into this. Whereas Rogue, on the other hand, we're looking at a team that is, you know, both teams have won one game each. They're completely level in the standings. However, Rogue, in my eyes, should be 2-0 up as well.
Okay, you talked about Exodus on Pwns that really needs to show up. Anybody else in a different role?
I mean, the biggest problem with the Pwns is probably that they are compared to, well, the previous roster, the one that came second in almost every single event there is on the planet. They're going to be compared to just that. And that might be why we're standing here and talking negatively about them. Because,
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, because we have that expectation of them. They have replaced those players that were in that position before.
Huge shoes to fill.
Yeah.
You got Joystick on the other side. That's the kind of players you're trying to replace.
I mean, we're looking at some of the absolutely most experienced
Shepard
players.
He should have been in the... You know,
Dan, like we can mention all of them. It's just... it's...
Big shoes to fill.
Massive.
Huge. I mean, it's like clown shoes, you know, like the ones that are 100 centimeters too long.
You're wearing right now.
Thank you. I'm a clown.
He's actually wearing shoes from his old team, but we won't tell anybody that.
Yeah, he says they're very comfy.
They are very comfy. They released a new one as well.
Oh my God.
$1.
You'll have to pay for them this time.
He is all about shoes. If only he actually wore them when he got on his interviews on stage.
Never do that. Playing in shoes is uncomfortable.
Yeah, but then I could smell the socks from the other side of the arena where we were casting.
Yeah, but when we go back to the hotel, you're going to be, oh, I love the smell of you, Fabian. So it's kind of, you can't really compare that.
Yeah, like that's kind of the after-event packing day, though.
Yep.
Anyways, we're really like we're old. We miss those times where remember back. I remember when every 2 months we went to an event and we were somewhere. I'm really excited for our next event because I want to see kind of the return to LAN for Europe and for, I guess, Rainbow Six in general, because this has been a while, right? I want to see it back again. We've seen a few over the past year. Still very hopeful that Europe will be able to take one.
Cross them. I've got to do it physically with my hands.
Would Rogue then be one of those 4 teams that would qualify to
I
that
think
major?
so. I really do think they're a shoo-in, and I think Rogue of last stage they had to be very disruptive with the way Prano had them playing. And I'm not putting that solely on Prano, but they were a team that had to do a kind of shock and awe approach to get themselves out of relegation spot. It was effective, it worked, and I questioned at the time, is this sustainable long term? Obviously, they lost Prano. They made a massive decision to kick Aces as well. So they got rid of Prano and Aces, who you said were the two best players on this roster. Two smart pickups, but the way they're playing strategically, they've worked very hard in the off-season, and I really like it. I'm genuinely really enjoying the way Rogue are playing strategically, and I think once those players, they're a team that will be confidence-based.
Yep.
You know, you've worked with Kanto.
100%.
You know,
I've worked
Kanto as a
with
player is
two of them.
particularly confidence-based. The same with Cryan, and I think when their confidence goes up and up and up, that's when they start looking really dangerous. They've had two good performances against two top teams.
The lobby's ready.
Okay.
You can stop delaying. It's been already enough. So thank you very much, Fabian and Fresh, for kind of going down memory
I
lane.
just had such a good point as well.
We need to get into game.
I know,
Leave it
I
in.
know.
And by the way, Grim, if you're watching, happy birthday. For anybody out there, it's your birthday. Happy birthday. It's Pawns versus Rogue, our first one. We're going to head into Cafe Dostoevsky. We got Ace and Does take you through it. Enjoy.
Bit of cheeky cafe to start the Playday, Tim. Looking forward to that.
Never mind a bit of cheeky cafe. We've not cast an awful lot of it this year, and I'm looking forward to seeing a bit of it. I'm looking forward to seeing a bit of a resurgence for Pawns, to be honest. They can't get...
Oh no, they've done him dirty, Tim.
I mean, that really is an indicator of what we saw last week. You know, I say a resurgence for Pawns, it can't get much worse than it did last week, so I'm definitely expecting more, but they've got a tall order in front of them, Rogue, and not going to be easy. After coming out of a difficult matchup against BDS and taking the win, this Rogue team are going to be flying high today on Cafe, and Pawns are going to have their work cut out. We'll get right into those operator bans. Maverick is going to be number one. Interesting, because we don't see too much hatch play for starters on Cafe. So, you know, Maverick, whilst he has his uses, you're looking pretty much towards the bottom floor site. You're looking towards kitchen relay. Beyond that, he doesn't get used too much. So, interesting one.
Now, top floor, normally you're going with a Habana or an Ace and try and get the walls open from afar. You play at range through the windows rather than trying to get right up against them. Otherwise, you're just getting swung from bags, you're getting swung from Pixel. It's just not a good time to be a Maverick. So, it feels quite targeted by Rogue. The next band coming out going to be a Thatcher. No big surprise. I imagine we'll probably see a Valkyrie or a Mira step in next as well. This map, really difficult to push in through that top floor. There's a lot of work that you have to do. Mira just really makes that even more difficult than it already is, so should get a ban away. It's going to be the Valkyrie coming out of Poons. And now the big question is, do Rogue go for a target ban as their last one, or do they go for something more conventional, like I said, something like that Mira?
Wouldn't surprise me to... I was going to say, it wouldn't surprise me to see something a little funky out of Rogue after the Maverick ban, but no, they're going to go straight down the middle. Nice and default Mirror it will be. And I'm looking forward to seeing this Rogue side today. Cryan had a great game against BDS. He really went head-to-head on frags with Sharko, and that is certainly no easy thing to do. So hopefully for Rogue,
just casually match Sharko.
No problem.
Yeah, no big deal.
No problem, no big
big
thing.
deal.
No big thing. But hopefully Cryan's going to bring that sort of ferocity into the server again. Consistency is something that we've spoken about with him, especially in terms of frags and, you know, getting in there and getting his kills. So hopefully we'll see a bit more of that. And Kanto as well had some great moments. Nice 4K with a clutch in there as well on the diffuser. It was a great day for Rogue, and there could be some more of it. We're going to see them start on defense. It's going to be Reading to kick us off. Finally, Des, this could be the moment. This could be the stage where teams start leaving top floor until the third choice site.
Quite possibly, Tim, but
Please,
I do want
do
to
it for
touch
me.
on Tim. Shh. Trying to speak. There's a reason why we've got a player called Fan135 in the game, and that's because for Exodus, he can't turn his streamer mode
His
off.
streamer mode's got a little bit stuck.
So he is Fan135 for this game, but that is Exodus, just to let you know that there isn't a random that has stepped into the server and is now playing Iana for this Poons side. But let's get into things anyway. As you say, it is that Reading and Fireplace site, and as expected, you are going to see an upstairs hold coming through, with a Kai being brought along as well, because when he's not banned away and you haven't got a Maverick and you haven't got a Thatcher, it can be pretty problematic to deal with electrification, Tim.
Certainly will be. As you say, you're going to have to, you know, maybe bring the Twitch. We've got Twitch on side with Andreezy, so that's an option. Or maybe the Nades of Sledge or something like that.
Oh, there's a Sledge there as well, Tim.
Yeah, well, that's pretty handy, really, isn't it?
Oh, almost like a
it's
fortune teller,
almost as if Pawns have thought about it.
Almost.
They're going to start with the top floor clearance, straight up onto the rooftop. Going to be opening the hatches. Will allow a mission that first miss. He's going to step away, maybe just being a little bit cautious of the potential of any explosives getting launched up through those hatches. which we do see sort of fairly commonly, and I like this. Andreezy getting in there quickly, only 40 seconds. Drones are going in ahead of him, and he's moving through. Needs to be careful, though, because there is somebody in the Maestro spot on Cocktail, so could be a challenge here. Andreezy, indeed, just dipping away from that single door from Cigar. Now being careful, because I think the drone has just picked up on that player.
They'll know there are pretty default spots being held here. They know there's a shield. They know there's one sat inside a Cocktail. So there's 2 players they've got to deal away with that are currently sat up here on this top floor. So pushing their way forward is one thing. In fact, there's 2 players sat here on white. 1 nade, 2 got 2 kills. Could be beautiful, but there are ADSs on the way through. They burn the shield. Both players stepping away. Neither falling down, but then I know there is someone trying to step forwards. And sure enough, Exodus is going to walk right into that one. Kanto stepping off Lumber and finding the opening kill of this game.
Big start for Kanto there. We talked in the pre-desk about how he is a confidence player, and getting those early entries is going to be great for him. Emission taking a ton of damage as he tries to dump the nade in. It's not really going to have too much of an effect. Crying taking a little tickle of damage, but nothing that's going to force him away from that top floor hold. Of course, Pawns trying to get hold of top floor to use that verticality down into sight to support them in getting the diffuser down, but it's looking less and less likely, Des, that they're going to be able to do it, and they may have to dip away from this top floor and just look at a push directly in horizontally, but of course that will leave the defenders with those vertical angles. Leon, he's going to use the Nitro to find Scyther, and all of a sudden it's a 5 versus 3, and Pawns are really on the back foot here. They've not made any progress as Kanto finds himself a second, and Crying gets in on the action. This could be a flawless round to kick us off here, Des, if WTG can't find a man, and it's going to be trouble for Pawns.
Where has he just got away to? He almost snaked away from it. I think the man actually dropped as well, just about avoiding WTG as he came pushing around, but Crying has dropped onto site. Must know the man is looking to try and step round and go for the challenge, but does he know he's gone for the cross that he's on the right? Into the room he comes, they hear him, and those Malusis are just free information for you, and you come pushing in towards the site, only dropping a single man in that first round, Tim. The boys on Poons really stalling out once they initially got inside a Piano and Cigar shop. Could not press forward from there.
I'm a little bit worried for them. I'm a little bit worried for them already. We saw them have a tough day on Monday on Border. On Thursday last week, was it? Super Week? Yes. We saw him have a tough day, and it's not looking like it's going to get any better if that first round is anything to go by. There is time yet for them to settle into this one, but Rogue were looking sharp. They were unable to move anybody, effectively. None of the defenders having to move away from their original starting positions. Pretty much every gunfight was won, other than the one onto WTG. Otherwise, Rogue were coming out solidly on top.
The only question I've really got, and I understand why you want to be tossing flashbangs into storage in case there is someone sat there so you can nade them out, but the Habana was sat up on Skylight, and I was like, right, there's a guy sat in Cocktail behind a wall that isn't electrified that you can likely open. And what do? Just stick him up on the Skylight and go, oh, all these ex-Kairos are going to have to stay in back pocket. They are not getting used. So they were just chucking nades into ADSs. They were having to crouch walk their way through bar to try and catch someone. There were crossfires waiting for them. It just looked a little bit fragmented. And as I say, they got stuck once they got into Piano and Cigar shop. Exodus solo pushing down Pixel's a great example. No support from that white window. It just felt like a bunch of players kind of doing their own thing in that round rather than really coordinating.
Which is exactly the problem that was highlighted on the desk for Pawns on Border. Just playing as individuals, no coherence in between what they were trying to do, just, really individualistic. And it's continuing to be an issue by the looks of it. We've just got a little bit of a technical pause while we work an issue out.
No. Fan 135 is...
Fan 135.
He's stepping out and letting Exodus back into the server, I imagine.
I mean, if that was
look, boys, it was a great run. I enjoyed it.
If that was the case after the first round, I think it'd be a good idea.
It may well be the case, though, in that he is getting himself back in as Exodus. We'll find out once things get back underway, but shouldn't be too long from this point forward. Another thing worth stressing, really, by the way, if that was a bar Cocktail attack, then all right, you've had a go, you've got yourself inside a bar, you press forward, at least you've done something. But it was a reading Fireplace attack, and they only killed one person. They stalled out on the top floor. It was left to WTG on the Habana to come solo, pushing up towards Cocktail, eventually having to drop into reading and getting nothing done. It was just down to a Hail Mary at the end. It was just, what else is there? What else is left? You tried to run a hurdle race. Well, how many hurdles are there in a hurdle race? Do you know?
10.
Is it 10?
I think it's 10. I think it's one every 10 metres.
All right, well, they failed at the first hurdle anyway.
Well, it'd be 9 then, wouldn't it?
There's still 9 more hurdles to go in there.
No, it's 110-metre hurdles. It's 10.
Is it really?
Yeah, one every 10 metres, 110.
Right, okay.
Obviously, you've got 10 metres at either end. So
I didn't know that, see?
That's why it's 110-metre hurdles, not 100-metre hurdles.
Oh, learning things with Tim.
100-metre sprint, 110-metre hurdles.
I'll teach you, Tim. I'm learning things.
There you go.
But They fell down at the first hurdle anyway. That was the point I was going through after that long discussion about the hurdle race and how many hurdles there are and how long it is and all the rest of it. They fell down at the first hurdle. They got inside the building. Okay, maybe the second hurdle. They've had a good jump, a big run, like, oh yeah, fresh legs. Then they just absolutely cream crackered come the second one and just fell flat on the face.
Have you ever done any hurdles?
At school?
Terrifying.
Honestly, the best thing about hurdles at school was watching other people try and just smash into hurdles on the way through.
If you've never tried doing hurdles, you can't appreciate just how terrifying it is going over them when they're at a height. Because
especially for small people like me and you.
Exactly, it's a nightmare for me. Get a crack in the shin as you're going, it's no good. It can be a real mental game more than a physical one.
We used to play a lot of rounders at high school.
I was good at rounders.
I used to love rounders.
I was good at rounders.
I didn't hit it that often. When I did, it was a real slog.
Yep. A slog.
Quality, not quantity, was what I used to say. When I did hit it, it was great. I just didn't hit it very often, all right? Hand-eye coordination, it's why I suck at Siege.
I think we're going to be getting back into the game hopefully shortly. I can hear we're getting game time.
You know how true the whole quality, not quantity thing is? And that is exactly what their argument is going to be when they get one round in this entire game.
Except that's not going to cut it, Des, because we don't issue.
It's not how it works.
We don't issue any points on a quality versus quantity basis.
You're doing rounders, just not in Siege.
These points are issued purely on quantity, and that quantity is going to be trying to get to 7 rounds. It's the best of 12, so the first one to 7 will take a full 3 points.
Tim, it's me strat. It's me strat that I love.
Give us the breakdown, Des. Give us a talk through.
Rooney and the Castle coming together, because we've seen so many teams struggle with this. You have the, as we've already been pointed out by the wonderful observer Easy in this game, that we have got a castle barricade and a laser gate in front of it, and some teams will double that up and also put it on the south window inside a piano. You basically then got 4 layers of utility to get through, and some teams, they really struggle with that concept. It's unbelievable how much time we've seen some teams in places like APAC North just burn trying to get through that part of the map. And again, it's all focused on slowing opponents down. If they've been taking a long time to get things done, if in that first round they failed at hurdle number 2, as we spoke about, why not try and make them struggle even more here? We are only 30 seconds in. Cafe, it takes a while to get up the building and get to work, so you'll give them until about the 2-minute mark, but then we've really got to start seeing some pressure, what am I thinking for? Some progress being made. That's the word I was looking for, Tim. Hurdles on the mind.
X-Kairos being used early to open up the castle barricade that was on the white corridor window just outside of Lumber. Just going to make it basically less comfortable for anybody playing in Bathroom, Pixel, Lumber. Just make it difficult for them to move around in that area to track back to the top of White Stairs. We've got the man on rappel now then. Cryan is in an aggressive position here, I'm going to call it. He's on Red Stairs. I don't know if he's been spotted out or not, but he's looking to make a challenge on anybody who drops down that hatch or maybe pokes their face into it potentially. He's just going to hold himself there for the time being. But Des, we're nearly 1.5 minutes in. We're nearly at the halfway mark, and Pawns, they're not inside the building yet.
Tim, I said by that 2-minute mark, we've got to start seeing some progress being made, and arguably the most painful thing is that you've got Scyther playing on the Flores. Now, there are mute jammers scattered throughout the building, which is going to make things a little bit tougher for you, and here he'll just blow up one of the bars. And maybe you're wondering, well, why blow up that bar? It's because, like you saw from the player on Rogue there, I think it might have been Cryan, it wasn't Cryan. Someone was backing away out towards the top left corner, but here comes Cryan, unflanked, unwatched on the drone, and gets himself an opener onto a mission. But it forces that player back that I was on about deeper into Cocktail. You can't play behind the bar anymore. So congratulations, you've made someone move 2 meters and then paid the price by losing your sledge in the process.
Absolute freebie for Cryan there, and they just cannot be allowing that.
No response.
No response whatsoever. 2 minutes in, Des, they're not inside the map. I don't see any way that they win this round. If this round is won by Pawns from here, Rogue have given it to them. There are 50 seconds left to go. Nobody inside the map. No kills to their name, and Rogue are just able to sit and hold angles. They've got Cryan moving around at will wherever he wants, and Pawns, they just look a little bit lost at sea.
Why is he now fan 316?
I don't know. I was just wondering that. I was going to explain and say, look, Exodus is here. Don't worry, it's not been 2 players. He had an issue with the streamer mode just kicking in and keeping his name, but we've got him on the overview as Exodus. In game, he's
not.
He's not. He's going to be showing up as fan, but it is all the same player as Deepak manages to find one onto Andrizi and Cryan. He's got their name right now, Des. He manages to get a second. It doesn't matter what's showing up on his screen. And Deepak finishes things off. Rogue are just tearing through Pawns here. There is absolutely nothing that they can do to get around off them. them.
At least they had a go then. It's the one thing I won't take away from them. Yes, you lost a few gunfights, but they did make the attempt. They smoked out Cocktail. They dropped 2 down through Skylight. You had Exodus repelling in from the noob out window, so they had a plan, and at least they gave it a go. And this is the thing, I think Fresh said this a few weeks ago, you'd rather see a team give it a go than just stall out doing nothing. So, compared to round 1, where they got nothing done, at least here you are seeing some team play coming together, which is a good step in the right direction, but it's not getting you rounds on the site that arguably you should be getting around.
Hurdles are turning into the high jump here, Des. That's what Paul...
Let's not get started on the high jump, Tim.
Now, I've never tried the high jump, I must say.
Honestly, it's actually really interesting to watch others because they can fling themselves so high, and I was just like, wow. And then I try, and it's like, what, half a metre off the ground? I'm just like...
Still not getting over
face first in the sand.
Yep, still not going over.
And do not get me started on the triple jump. That one. Oh.
I don't have the legs to triple jump. It might surprise you.
Nah, not at all.
I know everybody at home in the chat right now is going, no, Ace, we are not having that. That is a complete shock to us. But yeah, triple jump, not athletics in general, not really my forte, to be honest.
Sorry, play video games, mate.
No, I'm not too. I'm reasonably sporty. I'll play a bit of football. I'll play, a bit of the sort of regulars. But athletics never really took it for me. But I tell you what, not taking it is Pawns right now. 0-2 on the scoreboard. Rogue are just having their way at the minute. They're looking at a complete defensive rotation here if they can take the 3rd round successfully. And unless Pawns switch something up drastically, it looks like they probably will because they've not even been within touching distance of Rogue so far.
You got support player Leon out in the map. Kanto playing a much more defensive position here, playing on the Kaid. You got Deepek on the smoke of all things, and Leon's getting to go and run out in the map. So where you've had a big change in the team this season, for those who didn't watch the first 2 play days, is Leon has stepped back into the hard support IGL role for them. You had Kanto and Crime being out on entry. Deepek's been involved as sort of a flex entry in a way, and Rips has been also more supportive in the back line. So a couple of changes coming in, and at least in this round, it's not working out too well for them. WTG going to start things off with the scoring, bringing down Crying, and at least it's an entry. But the big question everyone is going to ask is, what can you do from here? 2 minutes on the clock, at 5 versus 4. Things are going their way, at least for now.
Much better from Pawns. That needs to be the catalyst for them now. That needs to be the spark that gets them going and fires them up. They still need to clear out VIP. Exodus is just going to hold his angle for the time being, but that's going to be a particularly important position to make sure that they are in charge of, given that they look like they're stacking up towards a potential Freezer side push in the late round. That said, the sledge is still working above the bakery and sort of front kitchen area, so it's all in the mix at the minute. There's a potential to push either side. They're going to be opening the hatch up into Freezer, which would signal to me that I would expect it going towards Freezer. They're going to clear off that Kaid Electroclaw, and that will allow the actual work to be done on the hatch itself. Coming down towards that final minute, and Pawns, they need to make sure that they don't stall out with this advantage in hand.
The thing is here, they've got that vertical control. They've done it in good time. 130 is my metric when you want to start swinging this sledgehammer. You can use the first 90 seconds to get the map clear, make sure your flanks are locked down, and then press forwards from there. And that feels like what they've gone to so far is they've got everything up to this point spot on. They're doing it by the book, but now you've got to turn it into a round win. 45 seconds remaining. The first smoke being tossed out there inside of Freezer by Deepek, who's inside of VIP, just trying to stall out this drop. But those smokes don't last forever. If he can keep on chaining those, it'll be in a wonderful position. And down comes the Yana decoy as well here. Deepek very much aware of it, and they now know that's exactly where he's sat. They need to unseat him from here if they're going to make the push, but here comes the drop.
Now is the time for Pawns. They need to get aggressive. WTG goes straight into the plant site. Amision manages to get a kill onto Leon, and that might be it. Deepek's looking to push from the rear, and they've got full control here. Diffuser has gone down, and surely this is a Pawns round much better than we've seen in round 1 and 2 from them. Amision shuts down Rips, and it's all up to the smoke. 1v5 now, and you can't sit and hold an angle forever. Deepek gets himself a nice kill into Freezer, but that will be all as Exodus finishes things off for Pawns. They get themselves on the scoreboard, and let's hope for their sakes that this is the start of a more competitive game on Cafe now.
Like I said, up to about the 60-second mark left, they did everything by the book. They had all the vertical control they needed, things locked down, players ready to come pushing down Freezer side. They played it basically spot on. And I was asking that question if we got towards the execute point. I was like, okay, Rips, you brought the Yokais. Where are they? And instead he was pushing up red, trying to challenge a vertical angle that he was never going to win and simply lost out on for free. It could have been that he'd lost the Yokais earlier in the round. We didn't see them the whole way through the round. But really, that's the kind of time you're looking at and saying, right, an assist now from the Yokais would be excellent.
Moving back round then, Rogue, they're not going to double down on Kitchen. They're going to go back to their primary choice site, which was Reading, as it is now available. I'm really interested to see in this round how Pawns do now. They've got themselves around on the board, and they're going back to try and right those wrongs from round 1, where they just didn't get established on the top floor, let alone the middle floor. They could not move any of those Rogue defenders. So I want to see better use of that utility, Des. It was something that you picked up on. It was just all a little bit messy, all a little bit uncoordinated. We had frags being lost to ADSs, we had flashbangs going into areas where there were no players, there was no use of the X-Kairos pellets. We need to see more efficiency out of the utility from Pawns in this round.
Yeah, clearing out this top area is the key one because they couldn't get away with that last time round. I think I'd like to see Cider potentially get himself onto the Skylight rather than WTG and have him open up some walls for them. At the very least, even if you don't get the wall opened up, at least you're signaling, if Rogue shoot it out, roughly where they are and where it is you need to be droning, or at least turning your guns towards. So Kanto here looking to be a bit cheeky up onto this minibar window. He's got the right idea, as there is someone upside down on the rappel there, and if he can catch someone out at the start of this round, it'd be a screamer. I mean, look how well it worked for Pawns in the last round when they got the entry kill. How things transpired from there was a pretty comfortable round win.
Difficult challenge for Kanto here onto the whiskey bar window. He hears the rappel coming in, but Exodus is able to win that one out as he gets the kill onto Kanto from Pixel, and that's going to give Pawns the entry kill again here. And let's see some momentum now. Get across this top floor, get in control of it, and start opening up those vertical angles, something they didn't achieve in round 1, but they've just got the perfect start for now.
It's one thing I do want to see out of Kanto more as the season goes by, is more reserved roaming. On Skyscraper, it was a massive issue. He would over-roam, overhold office when they were on a karaoke T defense and just get pinched out by the members of BDS. And I think there is kind of overstayed Pixel as well. I get it. You want to swing window and get a cheap kill, but if they know you're there, they're going to 2v1 you every single day of the week, or at the very least, they're going to get behind you on white window. They'll toss nades up there, but overstaying is costing him now, and it has done for the last 2 games. So I want to see a slightly more drawn back Kanto as time goes by. For the side of Pawns, though, we've lost half the round, Tim, and they're only just again getting control of 90.
This could be beautiful. A little bit of teamwork coming in from Rips and Leon here, as Leon's feeding the information and Rips was just in position with the Nitro Tone ready to go. They had a nasty little angle up through the floor and up through that hole that's been opened up, but it will not come to anything. The opportunity does not present itself, and Pawns' push continues here. Out goes the Nitro. Can it be a second for Leon? He pulls the trigger just too late, and his man escapes a mission with just limited damage there. Exodus has taken some as well. Still 5 versus 4 for Pawns, and they are leading the way.
It's one of those again where small bits of communication coming out, I think, as well. They weren't 100% sure on exactly where the man has stepped to. Came close, but half a second earlier, that's a kill coming back for Rogue, and you're in a 4 versus 4. They can still make good use of this pulso to know where they're coming from. They identify one's coming down red, and look who's waiting underneath. It's going to be Crying, just waiting to come pushing up, and sure enough, here he comes. But we're in that last 20 seconds or so, Tim, and this is where mistakes are rife.
Diffuser's going down. WTG's got himself established inside a site. It's either on the cover, they've got the vertical, they should be able to stick this, and they do. Crying, he's going to look to move himself all the way around underneath. Leon goes to the challenge onto Reading Door, shut down by Cider, and it's all going towards Pawns once again. 5v1, and it's all up to Deepak once again, but this time he can't even find one, as we see ourselves with a flawless round. And what a turnaround for Pawns. Des, this looks like a different team from round 1 and 2.
Tim, quality, not quantity. Although it is very rapidly turning into quantity on top of the quality.
Well, I mean, if you can get both of them, then you're laughing.
I mean, they've dropped a single death in the last 2 rounds. That's how clinical it has looked. And I hate to again draw it back to the start of that round, but losing Kanto 45 seconds in because he's trying to get hyper-aggressive onto windows is not the way to do it. That isn't your site. You're not defending bar and cocktail. Pulling further back, down white like he did previously, and holding off towards top white probably would have been the play. But pays for it with his life, leaves his team a man down, and then they're kind of scrambling to try and pull together this 4 versus 5 that relies on C4s that they just can't land, and it all comes falling down from there. It's no surprise at all that Rogue call that tactical timeout and say, right, boys, look, things are crumbling. We've been slapped about now for 2 rounds. We've lost our primary site as well. We've lost the downstairs. We need to get this back together.
Going to be a tactical time out for Rogue. They've obviously decided those last 2 rounds are sufficient, that the momentum, the wind has been taken out of their sails, so they're going to have a little chat and just see if they can get things back on the straight and narrow. It's going to be up to the top floor this time. Bar and Cocktail will be the defensive hold, deciding that Reading was a little bit of a lost cause in that last round.
A little bit. So they're going back to the same strat they ran in round 2 as well. They did indeed win there. Cryan's big flank up the red stairs was what really nailed it for the side of Pones. I mean, they also did have the Flores on side, so they didn't have a Nomad. They couldn't lock off the red flank. And that's when I think Cryan was like, right, we know there's a Flores on side, time to go nuts. Let's go and flank them up red stairs, find a couple of kills for ourselves. They did only find the sledge, but a kill is a kill, no matter which way you want to slice it. So, this time they have not bought the Flores, they've stuck with the Nomad. They want to stop that happening again. So keep an eye on Cryan and see where he tries to move in this round.
I like the adaptation from Pawns. That's it. You know, if you're going to get bitten once, that's fine. It happens, but you can't allow it to happen again. So you see how impactful Cryan can be in this round, or whether Rogue can have that sort of freedom of movement. Because last time, like you say, they just didn't get moved out of their initial spots. They were pretty much playing their beginning to end. WTG moving in quickly with the X-Kairos launcher, just going to take down those castle barricades so that the windows are available for repel, and that will help the initial push in towards Piano.
It's that kind of phantom pressure I speak about sometimes. A window's open, a doorway's open. Is there a player there? Oh, you just don't know. Not until someone's peeking through it and killing you at the very least. So, with that castle barricade being gone, they don't need someone to play it. They just need someone there to be able to burn their way through. Kind of surprised WTG isn't getting himself on the window where a mission is currently sat and is looking to roast his way through the laser gates, through the castle barricades, namely the ones that are sat on the double doorway coming out of Cigar into Piano. That's the one that you really want to cut. And they spot one of those yokais, the ones from Rip's just getting a little bit too cheeky on its peek out. It's not a man going for a spawn peek, but it is someone sat there on the yokais trying to feed information back, and they lose one of those two critical yokai drones.
It's a big pick up there, managing to get that yokai drone. Cryan's going for a big run out here. Surely he's looking for it. He's keen. He's going to get his man as he peeks around the corner, takes a mission and manages to escape with his life. Takes half damage. But I tell you what, he'll accept that all day long. That's the sledge gone. And potentially, I don't know if he took nades with him or whether they'd already been used, but with Piano, I think the castle barricade has been taken out. So that is the big job that those nades could have been used for. It is already done. So not the end of the world in terms of utility, but not great for Pawns in terms of this round.
Just the one being lost. It's not the end of the world, but imagine you commit so much time to watching bottom white for a run out and they come out of bakery instead. You'll be kicking yourself. Just one of those they didn't have covered down. I think even Cryan was expecting there to be a claymore as well, given his little glance at the ground before he ran off round to the left. But, Tim, we're at 60 seconds left and they're only just getting started on this double top red wall. This should have been open a long, long time ago.
Cryan just taking the opportunity really on that run out. Of course, we saw the Nomad sort of teased initially, but then picked away and would have been useful to prevent that death. With 45 seconds left to go, Diffuser still up on roof. They're still not inside of the map, Des. This was the problem that they had last time.
Last time round, they went for this kind of smoke into cocktail. 2 or 3 dropped down through Skylight. 1 came in through Nubauk. Yeah, we've seen it already. And Rogue will probably be anticipating it. They don't yet know there's a Ying on side, I don't think. That's the big difference. And Candela's come flying in. This becomes a very different state of affairs.
Exodus is ready to come in through that cocktail window. He's absolutely itching at the minute. Sider's going to take the direct drop into sight. Exodus is there to support. Is he able to get the diffuser down? They're not able to find the men because of their own smokes. He's right on top of somebody and just manages to get away with it. Kanto going down there. Sider looking to put this diffuser down. The challenge comes back from Rogue, but unlikely to be successful. Deepak manages to find one onto Andreezy, but he has to take his time to pick Leon up. Leave them 2 versus 3 with diffuser down. WTG finds Leon after that pickup, and it is all up to Deepak. How many times can we say this? There's 1v5 twice, 1v3 now. It is becoming a bit of a nightmare for him here, especially with that diffuser down. Low health shut down, and that's going to be the end of the story for Rogue in Cigar Shop, and that is going to be the top floor taken now. 3 rounds in a row to Pawns, and well, I don't know where this team were last week and for the first 2 rounds today, but it's looking a little bit different now. They did have, I will say, they did have a little bit of luck inside a cocktail, dropping right on top of the man inside of the smoke. That was just down to who figures out what way is up first.
That's exactly it. That's exactly how I describe it as well. I mean, you're sat in a spot where you've got 60 seconds left, you've failed to open red, you haven't got yourself inside a cigar shop, you've lost the man to a run out. Everything was going right for Rogue up until we hit that 60 seconds left mark. And they had that X factor, the Ying on side, the damage that Op can do when you're not expecting it. Tim, I'm blue in the face from talking about it now. For the last 6 Playdays, the 2 have had an EUL and the 4 in APAC North, I've said that when a team sees Ying, the defenders will then normally end up running Warden for the majority of the half because of just how oppressive it can be. You're not seeing it come through here in this round, but if that Ying had been shown earlier in the half, I wouldn't have been surprised if Rogue opt to change out one of their shotgun players and bring along the Warden instead.
That's it. It's not really worth doing it at this point. You know, you've got one round left. They may or may not bring it again, but it's not going to be the end of the world. And I think Rogue are probably feeling like they've got bigger things to focus on there. Like I said, there was definitely a little bit of luck on the side of Pawns, but hey, every team needs that sometimes. And they took the opportunity and they got the job done. Second plant as well out of 5 rounds, which is, again, a surprising stat, really, after what we saw in the opening 2 rounds, where there was just a complete lack of sort of confidence and momentum from Pawns, but they've turned it around fantastically. We've just got another little tech issue that we'll just take a little dip out for, but at 3-2, I think, you know, you really wouldn't have expected this after the first couple of rounds, but if Rogue can get themselves this final defence, level things up at 3-3, there's going to be a big telling moment at the change of the half here, and that is, you know, I know it was defence particularly that Pawns struggled on last week, but getting on the attack here and taking that initiative, that's when your coordination really needs to come in. For Rogue, you know, they need to get out there and make life difficult for Pawns. They might be able to sit back on the defence, but that's where the big questions are going to be asked.
There's probably something to be said for them switching over to the other half as well. Normally, on a map like this, you'd be looking at and saying you need to be getting at least 4 rounds on defense. A lot of teams hate attacking onto this map because of how stalled out you can get. Inside a cigar shop, inside a piano, you're expecting a 4-2, 5-1 half, whatever. Funnily enough, I remember when WTG was playing on Virtus Pro last year, they had a game that was like unwinnable on attack, and it was won by him just rushing at Pixel as Habana and killing 2 people. That won them the only attacking round of the game and got them the 7-5. That's just how difficult it is sometimes to crack. But here they're making it look easy. 3 rounds in a row they've got on the board, and now for Rogue, if they lose this next round, they've got to win at least 4 attacks of their own to guarantee we go through to overtime. This is feeling dicey if you're a Rogue fan right now, knowing that you're coming out of the half potentially 3-3 best case, 2-4 worst case. I wouldn't be feeling too optimistic, to be honest, Tim. No,
like I said, I think they'll take a little bit of confidence on the difficulty that Pawns showed with the defence last week, but they will, like you say, you know, they're going to have to really knuckle down and make sure that they do take any opportunities that are presented to them. We see the fist bumps to the camera that come through from Rogue. It's a bit of a trademark for them now. We've been seeing it for quite a while. Of course, they've got Bernadette, who works with them as a sort of mental coach on that side of things, and if you've not seen that before and you're wondering what's going on, it's sort of like it's a ritual, as a ritual. It's to break behaviour. It's like, right, the last round is done. This is like the refresh. It's just that mental, right, if I do that, it's a clean page. That's it. It's the full stop to the sentence, and it's on to the next round. And Rogue, they need a full stop at the minute, Des. They need one, because this is starting to run away from them. It's going to be reading for their final defence. We saw them win this back in round 1, lose it in round 4. So a mixed bag for them so far. But holding on to top floor, not getting so aggressive on that entry attempt like we saw Kanto back in round 4. That's going to be key here. Just keeping the manpower.
I'm thinking you probably don't stick on the Amaru. Maybe you do. Actually, maybe you do. Normally you'd see it for like a top site if you try and just force your way into Cocktail, but I'm thinking here, if they know or expect you to come pushing in from red and towards piano, and you just blitz your way up onto new balcony and charge into Cocktail, you just sever their backline entirely and potentially kill 2 players, stop them retreating down white. You can cripple this Rogue team if they don't expect this coming through. I'll say, that is changed away at the last second, but look at what they've changed to, Tim. The Lion, the Finker, and the Ying all coming along. I'd hate to be Rogue in this round.
I think oppressive is going to be a fair word here. That's, you know, they're going to be the feeling inside of sight, because there's going to be a lot of utility to prevent you moving, prevent you seeing, prevent you just being able to do your job effectively. We've got Kaid there. It's going to be Rips inside of pillars. Might find himself coming to be the one man here. This is going to come as a rush, Des. They've got 3 of them stacked up on reading door. There we go. Rips is ready for it, but he can't find a kill. That allows them to get inside of sight. Kills go either way as Crying finds WTG. Rogue are coming out on top, though. 3v3 as things are levelled up. Deepak just trying to smoke off that door. They've got the diffuser down, and surely this is a round that is going in Rogue's direction. They were ready for that. I like what Rips did. He took the challenge, but he didn't overcommit. He dipped himself away. He had faith in his teammates on site, and it kept the manpower for Rogue. They've They've kept themselves on top, and all of a sudden, that what was a rush attack from Pawns has been broken.
They've still got one more EE1D to use as well. Out it comes. I think as a mission almost dies to an explosive. It looked like it might have come up there. Perhaps Leon coming out with the C4, but walks away with his life intact for now. The beauty of it, although it's a failed rush, and again, I'll never attack a team for saying at least you gave something a really good go, and it could have worked out. They just didn't get slaughtered on the run into reading. They've got themselves about 2 minutes or so to play with behind drones, behind information from the Iana. They've got lots to do, but they are only against 3 players on the Rogue side. It's not like they've been wiped out 5 versus 2. They did take 2 down with them at the same time.
That's it. It's absolutely doable, but Rogue, they don't have much work to do here. They've got Kanto above. They've got Diffuser down on the ground. He just needs to sit and watch this angle effectively. There's no way that Pawns can push that top floor, but they say they don't need to, Des. Exodus is just going to swing him, and he's going to find the man on the vertical angle. Nice headshot, and that takes Kanto down, and it removes the vertical advantage that Rogue had.
I think there's one coming in from Train as well, so they're getting kind of pincered on both sides here. Yep, a mission just off to the side. They have an idea as to where they are, and they've got about 50 seconds to play with, Tim. It's so much time. They're getting called out on yellow pings as well, so they know there's a man sat halfway at white here. Do they know about him sat up on the back of the stairs, though? Because if they don't, they don't. They didn't realise he'd step back up a bit higher, and Leon finds a mission. There's only one remaining here, and Exodus has got to pull off a miracle.
Big play from Leon there, just repositioning himself and getting the angle that he needed onto the fireplace. Now then, Exodus, he was the man who hit the beauty onto Kanto. Can he find himself some more big shots here? He's got Leon on the long angle with the UMP, so the challenge is definitely doable, but he's just wasting time here. It's being beautifully done by Rogue. He tries to peek the close angle. He knows that Deepak is there, but there's nothing he can do as Rogue are able to close it out. 3-3 on the half, and here comes the Rogue attack.
Unfortunate. You know, that rush attempt could have come out really well if Rogue were not prepared for it. If you're scared about getting Lion scanned out, it could have gone beautifully for them. But Crime was in the right place at the right time and gets the entry onto WTG. It's the Habana. It's not the end of the world, but he gets traded back. So it did start out pretty well for Pawns. But once you lose 2 more members, you're down to a 2 versus 3. It becomes that really slow grind in the remaining couple of minutes to try and battle your way back. But truthfully, for Pawns, if you come out of that half with 3 rounds on the board, given how round 1 and 2 went, you'll be delighted.
We're going to be heading into round number 7 then. It's going to be top floor that is the preference for Pawns here. We saw Reading Room being the pickup for Rogue, but we're going all the way to the top to kick things off. And this is going to be the defensive half for Pawns. They need to keep that momentum. That's going to be the difficulty for them here, I think. You know, they've just been in a position where they felt confident enough there to go for the rush through Reading door to really bring that energy and aggression, and now they've potentially got to sit back a little bit. Of course, they can take a peek, they can take a jump out, but generally speaking, the attackers are going to dictate the pace a little bit here. If Rogue play it smart and keep themselves away from those potential opportunities for Pawns, they may just be able to grind them down a little bit.
And Rogue know what pace looks like. Look back at them in stage 3. They kind of pioneered this whole no hard breacher, rush site sort of vibe on Villa of all maps they used to run that strat. That was the first time that we saw it, and many were just like, wow, this is a very different Rogue team to what we were used to seeing in the past that looked a little bit uncoordinated. And there's still an essence of that inside this Rogue team. We've seen them attack with pace against G2 and against who they played today, BDS on Skyscraper. That's the one. Thank you very much, Tim. We've seen them attack with pace. We know that they can do it, and that's also worth stressing. They've played against arguably the top 2 teams in the league and put on a really good show against both. This is the kind of game where many expected them to do better and to come out stronger. They've really got to show what they've kind of built up there, not just in those 2 games, but coming into it as well, because otherwise, Pawns, they could walk away with a win here that no one would be expecting.
Rogue are playing into the map aggressively here. They've got Kanto working up white stairs. They've got Deepak at the bottom trying to clear towards brown stairs. Crying as well. Looks like he's positioned over towards red, but he could still be outside of the building. But there's at least 2 on the inside at the minute. Are they aware of a mission, though? I'm not sure if they are. Kanto's been fought back, and Deepak is now outside as well on the rappel, so it looks like there's been sort of an attempt at clearance of any roamers who are playing underneath, but Rogue have decided better of it, and they've dipped themselves away and they've gone back onto the rappels for the time being. Kanto just doesn't seem confident in pushing up here. Deepak instead has actually gone in from that rappel, and he opens up his own death des. He gives them the angle, and a mission is there ready and waiting, and he finds himself the opener.
One of those that you kind of hoping no one's going to be still in the doorway as you do the opener, but he was there ready and waiting. A second one comes through, making a third. Mission, the titan of defense here, finds 3 for himself on site. And the other's like, oh, just do it all by yourself, mate. Just take them all on. You may as well at this point. You're fragging out. Leon and Rip's got a whole lot left to do. And something tells me, Tim, just a little something, that this sounds pretty impossible.
It's going to be difficult from here, 2 versus 5. Leon just trying to push sort of directly towards that top floor, directly towards site here. And there's barely any kills been required up on the top floor for Pawns. Mission finishes off a flawless round. They just absolutely mopped up Rogue on that roam. They tried to go in and clear them. They tried to find those men and shut them down. They tried to pincer them. They had Deepek coming in from dining. They had Kanto on white stairs, but it just wasn't to be. Flawless round for Pawns, 4-3.
And a 3K for a Mission on site is the scariest part. He just cakewalked to 3K, make it a 4 at the end as well because he got the closing kill. Didn't even look bothered, didn't break a sweat in that defense. And Rogue, that's not the way you wanted that half to start. Now they go downstairs into the basement. So a little bit of avoidance being played when it comes to bar and cocktail so far. So on this site, no Echo being brought out. We are seeing the Chanka being brought along. So lots of rotatos to open up. The thing is about the Chanka, we've seen him pulled off around by a few teams every now and then. They'll try him out and see if they can make good use of him. It doesn't really feel like those Shumikers are all that effective, to be honest, Tim.
He's just never really found his place, has he? You know, the theory is there. Like, I get it. You can use him as an alternative to smoke. He's area denial. He can stop a push. But how many times have we seen that done? And I mean really successfully. Because for smoke, it's in the thousands. You know, we've seen it consistently over years, time and time and time and time again. Those Toxic Babe canisters able to shut it down. I can probably count on 1 or 2 hands. You know, if that the time that Tachanka has really been like influential in stopping that plant going down or the rush coming in. It just doesn't seem to quite fit.
I forget what team it was. I forget which team he's on, but Anthony in the NAL was frag Chanka. He would just go nuts playing the Chanka, playing it pretty close on border, inside of Fountain, looking to challenge anyone who came inside of Office. And not for the Shumikers. He whipped out that LMG and went to town. It was unbelievable. But we don't really see too many teams making use of it. I think with a small buff, and I don't want to incite fear across a nation here, but
buff
I think
to Chanka!
Buff the range a little bit so it feels more impactful and is better at blocking off bottlenecks. Because right now, you can afford to even run through 1 tick of it just to get through to safe land on the other side. It's not really an issue. It needs a bit more to it is kind of my worry.
Yeah, like I said, we'll see how it goes in this round, but it's just one of those. We just quite often see more value out of the smoke rather than the Tachanka. For the time being, though, Crying, he's going to be in that top floor. I think we're all confident that they've got control over top. Need to move on to middle floor, about 25 seconds if they want to be on pace for starting opening up that floor. Kanto is in position on the sledge, I think, not too far away, so he'll be able to start swinging and get the floor ripped up pretty soon. We've got angles being opened up. Crying going to do himself a tickle of damage with that soft breach as well. Walk at the end of the world, but, well, we'll be saying that if it comes down to a 1v1 and he loses by 1 bullet.
Won't you just. This one here should open up the floor as well, slightly for them on the downstairs. Oh, never mind. They're looking for it to open up so they get the angle down from the museum down into the red corridor, but I think they'll need the sledge to come across and do that job for them now, unfortunately.
I'm sure he will do. Kanto is busy at work, getting the angles that they need, but of course they always need to be cautious of the nitros that could come out. Andrizi not really in the right area at the minute, as Kanto has moved himself further into train, so not too much of a threat there. Great opportunity. Leon finds his man through the bars. He's going to shut a mission down, and that's going to be a big one. Maestro gone. Cams will be not locked in place, but they won't be shocking anything. They won't be used to open up and zap out any gadgets or anything like that from a mission, and it also takes the Alder off the board, which we know is one of those super powerful defensive weapons. So not a bad starter there for Rogue.
And there goes one of the Evil Eyes in the back corner as well, giving so much information, but life ended. No more of that being fed, at least off towards the right-hand side. Smoke coming in from Leon. They want to go for the drop here, and here's the Chanka. Again, just doing nothing. Look, Leon gets 1 tick and runs over, so does Kanto, and they're in sight. It's just not all that valuable. Exodus coming in through the rotate, finds one before getting tagged out behind the bar as well. Rogue into a 4 versus 2. Rips bringing it back. back, but then in comes Andreezy, a 3 versus 2, and this is where they've got to step things up here. They're going in for a plant. Is there a potential flank coming in here? They're going to see the man. It's all too easy for Deepek. Rogue should be able to close this one out. Kanto's going to stick, and it's Cider in a 1 versus 3.
This should be it now as he tries to work his way back into kitchen. He has every angle. Watch, Kanto's going to find him with the nade, and that's going to be shut down. Rogue managing to level things up, and I tell you what, Des, this one has quietly crept up on us, but we are in a real game here that I wouldn't be surprised to see go the distance. Neither of these two teams being able to consistently take themselves a lead here and really hold on to it. As we said about the Tachanka, interesting point there, how it just really didn't slow down that push onto the bomb site. Would a Smoke have done so? I think they would have done that better.
That's exactly it, right? I mean, again, you saw 2 players drop. They walked into the fire. They took 1 tick and then just kept moving. That was it. Just the 1 tick. And even that was like 10, 15 HP. It's barely even worth noting, and that's always my frustration. One thing I do want to touch on while it's here on the replay is Leon playing on the Capitale. You're looking at that and thinking, Leon's not really a Capitale player. He plays support for them. He's been on things like the Ace, things like the Hibana, like he is in the current round. But all they needed there was the hard breach gadget to open up the hatch, and outside of that, it was like, okay, what other utility can you bring? We could use some smokes, ideally. Okay, then, I'll play on the Capitale. Got a decent gun. Got the firebolt. Also, of course, got those hard breach gadgets. Just overall, a very good operator that you wouldn't really associate with being a support. But now he's got those 2 hard breach gadgets on maps like this, on maps like playing Bank as well, can actually be really valuable now he's got 2.
Going to be heading not to the top floor. We're looking at the top floor at present, but the site is going to be reading room. Of course, the defence will begin up on the top. Can Rogue do a better job of clearing that out than Pawns did, particularly in the first round? Either he's playing the same spot that we saw from Kanto, but he's just going to dip himself a little bit deeper. And, you know, you asked for it, Des. You said you wanted Kanto to play it slightly more passively, not to aggress onto the windows. He's got his shield. He's got his angle opened up from bathroom, and Scyther might just give you what you wanted out of that spot and just hold himself back a little bit and just try to delay that push a little bit more on the alibi.
Really playing behind the Intel denial here as well, mind you. The Mute and the Mozzie on side, just really trying to give Rogue a headache on their push through the top floor. And sure enough, I think you've just seen one of those Roteros being gobbled up by a Mute jammer, so not going to be able to get to work on it at this point. Another couple more, no doubt, to come running through at some point as well, because they want to try and get rid of this utility that's sat around Cocktail, that's protecting these topside players, and then move forward. But my issue with something like a Flores is it really slows the round down. It takes you about 90 seconds to really get maximal use out of all 4 of those Roteros. That's including a bit of time to get set up on the roof, for example. But the rest of your team is then kind of slowly posturing for the rest of the round. You're going to see that come through here until he's really finished what he's doing, that they can move forward, but there's no mute ban, so he can just carry on doing whatever he wants to do, no problem at all.
Out comes the Nitro, but it will be shot out before being detonated. Nice attempt from WTG, but will be unsuccessful. Interestingly, the comparison that I was making, Scyther to Kanto. Kanto was long dead by this point, having aggressed onto those windows. Scyther, he's burnt a minute and a half, and he's dipped himself back away to Timber, where he's now still in the round. Still able to fight, still able to move around. 1 minute 20 left to go. Kanto's moving in now. He's moving aggressively and at speed across there. He pauses a little bit in the bathroom, just waiting for that bit of information. But Scyther, he's in position too, and he's going to hold on just a little bit longer. Drops himself down, and we're now down to the minute mark. This is nice from Pawns.
They've just burnt like 2 nades on White as well, not even knowing whether there was a player there or not, but it does open up the space for Crying to get in, which is now done, and can look down and towards site and restrict some of the rotations down through Red 90. But they've got that vertical control, Tim. It's taken them about 2 minutes to get it, but now we've got to start thinking about what an execute looks like on the side of Rogue. They've got the openings coming up, as you can see. They're trying to move these defenders around a little bit, but as you can see through the floor, most opponents are off-site at this point. They're scattered around down towards Fireplace side, which means a reading door drop is really viable right now. But I don't know if Rogue are going to see that.
It certainly is, but Rogue, they've put everything in to get in the top floor. They now need to make the verticals pay. Leon, he's going to move in. He can get his diffuser down here. I don't think the challenge is going to come quickly enough from Andreezy. There's cover inside of site as well. Plant successful. It's now about the retake, but the verticals are in the possession of Rogue. They gave everything for them, and they are giving everything back. Deepek manages to find the opener. The challenge comes in. Leon just missing the shots on the secondary. He's going to get shut down, but 4v4 and limited time here as the fight back comes in from Pawns. WTG gets 1, but Kanto, he gets 2, goes big. 3v2 now, and Rogue with those verticals, they surely win this out. Crying from inside a site on top of that diffuser. He gets both as he steps out a reading door. And well, Rogue, they've got themselves back in front. It's 5-4 now now in what is turning into a real tug-of-war. Back and forth here on Cafe.
Well, Tim, how are the turntables? After round 5, we were looking at it and saying, Pones 3-2 up, they're stomping them. Surely, this is the swing they needed. The timeout not helping Rogue, but we switched sides, and hey, guess what? Turns out you can attack on Cafe pretty well. Part of that you might attribute in towards attack and repick. This has been one of those maps that for the longest time many look at and just go, well, you sort of stuck with a slightly suboptimal lineup based on where you're attacking, because if you're attacking another site, you can really screw yourself over. Looking at things again, like the Hibana, like the Ace, needing that range breach to get yourself inside a piano, to open up the storage and the bathroom walls, for example. Just little things like that they've been given slightly more freedom on the attacking side now. That's why you're seeing things like the Flores coming in, like the Capitao getting brought along. It's why you're seeing things like the Ying stepping in as well. Just all these little cute changes that you can make that I think is easing up these attacks ever so slightly, is giving a bit more of a swing towards the attacking side.
I just want to sort of finish that thought process, that discussion I was almost having with myself about the comparison between Scyther and W.
Because I won't listen to you. You're just like, I'll carry on.
You never do. But the comparison that I was making between Scyther and Kanto, they both started out in the same position. Kanto played it super aggressive with the swing onto the window and loses his life. Scyther, by contrast, played it as a passive angle, but he just... there's got to be somewhere in the middle. Scyther played it too passively. He dropped himself away. They gave up top floor to Rogue, and it was the top floor that won them the round. It gave them the opportunity to get in, get the plant down, and so, between those two teams, there is a sweet spot in the middle where they need to find maybe a little bit more aggression from Scyther there. Yeah, don't give your life away on Pixel Corner, but don't drop too deep, and don't give them that top floor. It was well played, though, by Rogue, and they give themselves now a well-deserved lead, 5-4.
You hear that, Tim?
I can hear that.
That is the sound of excitement. You've got an Ossa and an Amaru, a Flores, I guess you can throw in there as well, all setting up on the same team. Now, Ossa, we're seeing a lot of teams bring where you want to control long angles.
It's going.
Not right now. Surely not right now. Right now. Surely that'll be in like 30 seconds time or so, but you need the rest of the team to get set up, really. And I imagine what you're looking for is the Ossa to have a way to be able to challenge from on that new balcony and be able to look across towards the east and go for a challenge or heaven or whatever you may well call it. Call outs on this map. It seems everyone has got a different set to play behind. So keep an eye on Leon and see where he gets set up, because he'll be the trigger for Rips, I think.
The Gara hook is set up, ready, waiting, ready to go. Thorn is in the Maestro spot, on and off those cameras, and needs to be ready to challenge potentially. There are, of course, Razor Blooms inside of this window, but we've said it time and time again, they're not always the best to deny entry. He comes in and gets one. Can he keep himself away? Yes. And as I said, not the best for denying entry, because the diffuse on them is just too long. The kills have rained in, and ultimately it's Rogue that come out with the advantage. They have not dealt with the rush here, Pawns, as well as Rogue did. It's now effectively 2v1 as Rips has been downed. It's all up to Emission trying to work his way back across that top floor. He's going to head down the white corridor more than likely. Crying,
leaving Rips.
Crying has the opportunity to start putting this diffuser down. I don't believe Leon was able to deploy any shields before losing his life, so it's going to be all up to the two men.
Oh, sees the one. They'll rue this. If they don't manage to win this round, they will regret not getting Rips up when they must have felt like they had a positional advantage. Bit of a crossfire. Loses to one. Can he get the next? No, he can't. Crime wins out the 1 versus 1. Rogue get the round. That's 3 on the bounce for them, and they move up to match points.
It comes back to a degree to what I've been saying for weeks and weeks about the Razor Blooms. You cannot use them to deny entry. The fuse on them is too long. They take too long to detonate. Rips was able to get in there, trigger 2 Razor Blooms, get the kill onto Thorn, and still avoid any lethality from the gadget. There's too much time between one and the other, and relying on those to prevent the entry coming in through cocktail balcony window was a little bit naive, I think, because really you need to be using those gadgets more for area denial, plant denial, rather than keeping somebody from getting in through a window like that.
Often they're more for information. That's kind of the point of a lot of trap gadgets. Like, go back to thinking about Legion back in the day, right? You didn't bring in because he was a trap operator that really slowed people down. You brought in because it was information on what's going on. So if you hear that Razor Bloom start going off, oh, there's a guy that has swung in late behind me, I'll turn around and deal with him. I don't know if it's because of the chaos of the smokes going off and everything else hitting them all at once, but the man who was in cocktail just didn't turn to face him.
The problem is when you use those trap gadgets, targets for information, which I absolutely agree with you on, you've got to think about the distance that you're playing from them. You need distance to be able to react to the information that's being given to you. When an Amaru's going to come bursting in through a window, it don't matter that a Razor Bloom triggers, because you're getting challenged within half a second to a second after that point. And you just don't have the time to be able to formulate your response to it. So they need, if they're going to do that and use them for that purpose, it's got to be with somebody playing further away from them. You can't sit the Thorn right on top of them and rely on them stopping that push coming in from that balcony window. Pawns, a little bit of an error there, I think, allowing Rogue to get themselves in and sweep across from East. And Rogue, they managed to close out a round, give themselves a map point opportunity here. And Rogue, they seem to have found that mojo that they had in the first couple of rounds. They're back on it now.
Really woke up into it feels like, in the second half. Yeah, I mean, we were nervous coming into it that they wouldn't be able to string together too many attacks, but they sure shut us up with 3 on the bounce so far. So no site feels safe right now for the side of Pones. They need something a little bit different to help them out. They're once again leaning into that Mutant Mozzie, the Intel denial game, looking to slow the Flores down. But is that going to be enough to stop Rogue, who have moved with some pace so far?
Already inside of the map, Rogue are just riding on confidence right now, and it's no wonder if you win a round with an Amaru zipping in through a window, that's going to put the adrenaline up. That's going to get you moving pretty quickly. Kanto, he's going to be taking out some default cams as he gets himself under that new hatch. We've got WTG playing underneath on the Nitro. We've seen this previously. He didn't have too much luck with it. We'll see if he can have a bit more success this time. Attacking, of course, onto that middle floor, as you can see underneath us. Scyther this time going to get the opener onto Rips. But again, Rogue have got a lot of time in control of this top floor. This time, though, there is still a man up there who can make a challenge. Will do as he pushes around that corner. He's going to dip himself back into Lumber. I believe that it is Scyther on the Mozzie who's just continuing to make a nuisance of himself. He's actually got a second man with him who's going to drop the hatch. And this time, Rogue managing to sweep across.
They didn't know about the second man stepping in as well. Almost team killing Deepak on the way through, but it's the shot
So
through the
falling
floor.
apart.
They found 3 out of nowhere. They just didn't expect the Mozzie to still be upstairs. And he steps across to the shield, shuts it down, gets support from below. It could not have gone much worse. All goes wrong for Rogue, off the back of just one undrone Mozzie.
We're going all the way, Des. All the way to 12 in what we thought was going to be a close game. It has certainly turned out that way. We're going to have our last round of regulation here. It's going to be the last opportunity for Rogue to take this one and get the full 3 points. If Pawns are able to get this win, get themselves another successful defense, we will head into overtime, where the best of 3 rounds will determine the winner, and the loser will get 1 point. The winner will get 2 points. So there will be a share of the spoils in the league table. And right now, you've got to make an argument to say that both of these teams deserve a little something out of this game, Des. They've both had the moments, they've both had the mistakes, but they've adapted well, and they've played around each other. It's been a fascinating one to watch, and we've had some real sort of intense moments. We've had some big brain moments where teams have outthought each other, and it's been a lot of fun so far.
It has, yeah. You've had a couple of rounds that have been attackers just slaughter everyone. It's been defenders just slaughter everyone. A couple of close rounds, but for the most part, these rounds have seen 3 or 4 players on the winning team still left alive. So it's not like it's been outright domination for either side on either half, even if the results start to suggest that. But it feels like we could be on the way to a 3-3 half unless Rogue bring out something big brain here. And once again, you're seeing the Giddens playing across onto that Ossa. Very keen again to see where those shields get set up, what long angles they want to control. Wouldn't be surprised if you've got one looking down red. Rouge you can go for if you want. Looking down red in towards small bake, if you want to.
You've been practicing your French there, Des?
I was actually getting really rattled earlier at how, for 21, they say Von et un.
But they only do it for the 1.
But they only do it for that, because then you get towards like 81, which is like 81. There's no e in the middle.
I mean, you get into 421, so
yeah.
I mean, it gets crazy anyway.
Let's not talk about 97 because stuff gets really wild. It's just one of those things. Let's see how they fare though. Rogue are going to start up on the top floor and try and work their way down from there. And again, that 130 benchmark is what I look towards. If they get that control of the second floor, start swinging that hammer and pew away that skeleton key. That's the point in the round you're looking for them to get moving on. They're getting challenged up on the top floor. Kanto knows what it's like to face aggression, and he wins against Andreezy. That is a big kill because, again, Kanto sometimes overcommits to the entry fight, but this time round, a little bit of patience for a second or two, and steps across and finds his man.
Rogue definitely needed that opener after how the last round went, and they were basically steamrolled by pawns in a flawless round. They had to get themselves a bit of an advantage. That's the top floor clear out. They can start moving into trains, into dining now, getting those vertical angles. We've got pawns pretty much pushed down to the lower floor now. All locked down. We've got a mission out in Bakery, one out in VIP. They're actually spread quite wide at the minute, so there's an opportunity potentially for Rogue to take some sort of single one-on-one fights here. I'm interested in pawns keeping that man inside a Bakery at the minute because the push isn't really coming from that direction as of yet.
Not just yet, no, but again, they're swinging that hammer about just about 10 seconds shy of the 130 mark, but you're not going to be complaining too much about that because you've got a 5 versus 4. That's the dream that you're looking for. Now, remember earlier on, Rips on the Echo wasn't playing on the Yokais themselves. He was pushing up red. Emission sat much more static here, playing on those Yokais, looking for denial. But my concern is you've got 60 seconds still to play. If this was 15 seconds left, it makes total sense. But Rogue are going to start looking towards pushing in towards the site soon. With no one sat inside VIP, no smoke on side, no Chanker on side, they can just drop whenever they choose and start their push.
Emission's position out in Bakery starting to look big brain at this point as he's on the Echo and could potentially play spoiler here, but as bodies drop, it's not going to be easy for him to keep himself locked away safely. He might have to get himself in the fight. 30 seconds left to go, and here comes the drop. We might see that Ossa shield brought into action this time. We certainly do. It's on the door. It's going to give an opportunity. Beautiful. Just punches out the visual. Leon takes the kill onto Scyther before he starts putting that diffuser down. Is Emission in a position to deny? I think he has been, yes. The Yokai taken out, though. There is a second. There's 15 seconds left to go, and I would expect Rogue to be able to deal with this. He manages to stop one attempt. Leon gets downed. What is going on? No. It's 4v1 as Emission. He is taken down inside a Bakery, but Exodus, he's up above. Deepek, he's managed to get the diffuser. He's putting it down. If he can find his man, he could stop this. He could win the round. He could take it the distance, but he just could not find the angle. Deepek with an essential plant there for Rogue to keep the clock going, and it's all up to this 1v3. Exodus, he's got to come up big now. We know that he has those moments. He has that capability, that capacity. But can he find these 3 individual kills? No, he doesn't even find the first as Cryan hits his shots. And that's going to be Rogue taking what has been a close and hard-fought game against Pawns here. A much better performance from Pawns, but still not quite enough.
Not quite managing to get it into overtime to guarantee at least a point, but a really good attack in half from Rogue, and also to give some credit over to Pawns. Their 3-round win in the first half was fantastic, I thought, overall. Some really creative ideas behind the Ying, behind the Amaru, behind the Osa, you name it. This is what I'm enjoying about Attacker Read, because we are getting these new strategies, we're getting rushes, we're getting a little bit of everything to tingle your taste buds on the way through.
Oh, as a viewer, there's absolutely no two ways about it. It is pure entertainment. It's great, like you say.
As a caster, we're enjoying it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. You've got that opportunity to just do something different and to big brain it, and we've seen it a couple of times there, and it's worked for both sides. So I'd say it's pretty balanced in that sense as well.
Absolutely. A close shave for Rogue. I think closer than many would have expected, especially given our 91-9 social vote. But they get the job done, they get over the finish line and get themselves the 3 points they have been looking for. Let's go to a quick break, and when we come back, our analysts are going to break down that cafe matchup for you.